And Sangster said that he's found that they are not included in the climate studies. And the question is, are the humans affecting the climate by our contributions to the atmosphere? And some of the scientists dispute this. So, Jeff, let's just for a couple of minutes talk about the cost of eliminating fossil fuels, drastically eliminating fossil fuels in our society. What would happen? Let's say, so right now, 80% of our energy is provided by fossil fuels. What if we cut back to like 40%? What would happen to our economy?
Well, I think our economy would collapse. There's so many jobs, aside from the ability to get relatively cheap transportation, to power your transportation, to heat your homes, to run power plants. There's a lot of jobs that are associated with the fossil fuel industry. So it's going to hit us in any number of ways, and I think it would have a devastating effect on our economy.
Yeah, it certainly would.
I think it's already showing somewhat, in the position we've been put in with the war in Ukraine with Russia and our overdependence after being somewhat energy independent in the preceding administration, and now we put ourselves in a very bad position.
So the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, wants to drastically cut back the production of fossil fuel and the use of fossil fuels. But Dr. Sangster said this: shutting down the world economy and spending hundreds of billions of dollars per year to reduce temperature and to try to reduce CO2 emissions will only cause a decrease of 0.1 degrees centigrade in our temperatures, almost imperceptible amount. And so all the money we would spend, he concludes, is not only not going to work, but it actually would be counterproductive. And on the same line, Dr. Spencer wrote that implementing the green policies will destroy wealth, increase the price of virtually everything, drive industries overseas where they can pollute even more, substantially grow government, and greatly restrict personal freedoms. So the cost for the U.S. to rapidly shut down the burning of fossil fuels would be trillions of dollars. And as Sangster said, the impact on poor developing nations would be nothing short of genocide, with millions of premature births resulting from lack of affordable energy. I'm not sure why he went after the premature births, but many aspects. In fact, in my book, The Climate Change Hoax Argument, there's a chapter that talks about some of the projects for underdeveloped countries that the United States opposed because they said, well, we don't want them to have the energy because of the danger to our climate. And thus, some of these underdeveloped countries have already been prevented from having electricity to help them have refrigeration and other benefits.
And fossil fuels go into so many other things rather than just powering our cars and power plants. The plastic that's used on your dashboard in your car, your keyboard on your computer, so many products that we use every day are developed from fossil fuel, from petroleum products.
Yeah. Dr. Spencer said that, quote, penalizing the use of our most inexpensive energy sources will destroy wealth and lead to starvation for many of the world's malnourished. And another point here is now the European nations kind of embraced the climate change policies before America did, but many of them are coming to regret it. And of course, it's important to note that three major nations who have not implemented these excessive green energy policies are China, India, and Russia, who together, what's that? At least about half the world almost. And the development in Russia, they just blew it away and produced cheap goods.
And interestingly, they are giving outs, they're giving exemptions in the Paris Climate Accord. So the country that is probably the most environmentally conscious, or at least one of the most, the United States, is the most penalized, contributes the most to the Paris Climate Accord, And we have been doing the least amount of environmental impact of the major,
Right.
economies in the world. So the whole thing is just a bad idea, top to bottom.
Dr. Tim Ball reports that Germany, Spain, and Britain have become disillusioned with some of these restrictions they've been making.
And science does not support the assertion that the current or projected increases in CO2 pose a threat to the health and safety of the world. Science does support a finding that increases in CO2 will likely contribute to increased crop yield, reductions in erosion. Tornadoes, hurricanes, and wildfires are not increasing in frequency or intensity. Scientific evidence does not support the assertion that the continued use of fossil fuels will damage the atmosphere and cause either rising sea levels or other damage to the world. In other words, science confirms that climate change hysteria is not based upon legitimate scientific findings. And as we talked about, it's more of a political argument, or to some people this has become kind of a religion.
There is no widespread consensus that humans are causing catastrophic climate change. Thanks for joining with us for this discussion today. And just remember that the liberties we enjoy in America can be maintained only by its citizens being moral, informed participants in our democratic processes. The closing argument can help us to do this. This is Paul Smith. We'll see you next time.